Hello, my friends. Welcome in. It's time to talk about the channel and where I've been. Sorry if you can hear all the birds and wildlife happening. This is actually my backyard. It's lovely. Or, as some of you might say in other parts of the world, my garden. I haven't put out a video in a long time. I haven't played FM23 in a long time. I want to kind of explain why and kind of what to expect moving forward. There's going to be many reasons that I discuss today, so hang tight. First one is, I really don't like FM23. Not one bit. I've got some notes here, so sorry if I'm looking down at my phone. I was extremely disappointed with the launch of FM23. I think it is the classic example of overpromise and underdeliver. Some might argue that they didn't overpromise much. I was just really underwhelmed, and I tried to be positive and kind of move past it and go, oh, just FM things. But when we get to a later point about the amount of time that you have to invest to make FM23 content, I didn't enjoy sitting down to play the game. Not at all. It wasn't fun. I think the mistakes the defenders were making, especially before like the first major patch, were ridiculous. I think one of the things I like most about Football Manager is the international management. Obviously, I've done several series on that, and they've just ignored it. And I've just come to accept that they're never going to make it better. And that's unfortunate, especially if they're bringing, the women's side of the game into the game. That's a big portion for me, is the international side with that, and I just don't think they're gonna do much with it. I just felt like it wasn't. I felt bad because obviously I had affiliate links and whatever, and some people are gonna buy it, like myself, regardless of how good it is or how much of an improvement it is. I actually felt it was a step back. It was like, hey, here's all these improvements, and I felt like it was a step back from FM22. I think the graphics are a joke. I think the fan and the stadium and the burger van is a joke. I do think it's a fun game in general, Football Manager. I didn't think FM23, once I got into it, started playing it, was worth full game price. For me in my life, full game price is not a problem, but I know for some people it is, and that kind of leads into some other things. I think I shared about a year ago now, I started a new job. I left a company that I'd been with for well into a decade and a half. The new job is amazing. Make sure that's clear. It's a higher and wider role that I'm in. It's challenging, but I've kind of come to realize how the GHG of 2022-23 is different from the prior for multiple reasons. One of those is the job. I kind of realized how much I was able to kind of skate by. Like, I'll be honest with you, I could have my work laptop up, and in between my work and my meetings, I could click continue on FM23 on my desktop. I could have the game up and running. I can't do that now. I don't have time for that, which is good. I'm challenged. I'm growing as a professional. All those things are great, but the time available to actually play the game is reduced. And again, I want to make sure I'm very clear. I wasn't like just playing FM like for 5 hours a day at my last job. That's not what I was doing. But so, like as you're going through and you're just trying to get to the next game, right? You got to continue, and like in between my meetings, I'd skip all the scouting reports or whatever, right? I could just have it up and running and kind of move things through, while you're waiting for a meeting to start, that type thing. So I don't have that right now, and that's really challenging, just from a time standpoint. I think you combine that with FM is if you're trying to be a content creator in FM, it is very time consuming. The opposite end of the spectrum is being a Twitch streamer that pops on and plays a first person shooter game. You pop on, you say hey to your audience, you play your music, You hop immediately into a game, and then you're done. And maybe you pay an editor to slice it up into clips or whatever. Versus with FM, if you're trying to do multiple seasons with a club, right? Then it's like you got to think like you do your preseason, you do your transfer window episode, you do your first 2 games episode. Sorry, there's squirrels going crazy behind me. You do your your first 2 games. Then you skip forward 5-6 games, right? Because you don't want to show every game. That would be an entire series could be 1 season, but you don't do that in FM. So like that means you have to go forward and deal with injuries and practices and scouting reports and just to get to the next game and the next game and the next game. So you got to get through all that to get to your next episode. So there's a huge chunk of time in between there, between each episode, that you as the content creator have to participate in and play, but people don't see that. And so it's a very time-consuming game to make content for, which ties into, along with the GHG of 22 and 23 being different from earlier, younger versions of myself and not having time. It's not just my job, it's that my kids need me more, which is a great problem to have. Like, it's not even a problem, it's a blessing, right? When I started making content for Football Manager, I had literal babies. I think I had under a year old and under 4. Fast forward, that was in, 2017? Yeah, something, ballpark figure there. You can do the math on how old they are now. They slept a lot. Now they don't sleep as much. In the downtime when they were sleeping, my wife was also sleeping and resting. Like, we weren't like hanging out. Now they want to spend time with me, which is a great problem to have. But that means instead of going into my office at 8 o'clock at night and playing until 11:30 and recording and all that kind of stuff, sometimes they'll want to play, like, we play Minecraft like once or twice a week. And so they want to schedule that time with me, and we start at like 7:30 after dinner and we play until 9. And there goes a chunk of time that I would have used in the past to play FM, right? So they want to do that, or obviously it's not just gaming, right? We go outside, we plant stuff in our garden, which I'm going to show you. It's, well, you can't see it, it's down here. And the other reason, I'll just be honest with you, and this is partly to do with stuff that's going on in my personal life. Part of it is the new job and stress of those things. And part of it is what's going on. I'm trying not to get the comments and the algorithm, but a certain type of deadly violence in the United States. Let's put it that way. It's the one that's in all the news. It's the one that none of our politicians want to do anything about. Has greatly increased, I guess what I would now diagnose myself with is anxiety. And so I'm working through that with my doctor for the first time in my life. That's why I don't know if you could tell with the hat on, there's the circles are a bit deeper than maybe they used to be. We've talked about, even somewhat seriously, like, well, what if we could not live here anymore and move someplace else? Because I might have opportunities with my current employer to do something like that. So I've been, sorry, bird just flew over my head. I've been very, very anxious. And that's not a good place to be when you're trying to put out content that, like, gets you excited, and, like, no one wants to watch somebody play FM and be like, hey guys, really struggling today. Like, that's just not good. So I've been dealing and working through that on top of the work stuff, on top of my family needing me more, or not needing me, but like spending more time with them because they're awake and they're capable. They can get themselves dressed. We can go on hikes. We can go do all that kind of stuff. So my life has pretty significantly changed, especially in the last couple of years. So that's what's going on. This is not, to be clear, I'm not at this point in time announcing that I'm ending the channel. I am saying that it's going to be a while. It's probably going to be FM24 unless something really strikes my fancy, this summer. I just have been very disappointed in FM, and I think it is quite the time suck to make content for. I've thought about doing content for like F1 Manager. We did that for a little bit, but that's like kind of a complete reboot of the channel, and that game had its own problems that it took forever to patch. So haven't been too excited about that. And I think part of it is like I used to be in my last job. I used to be able to take some of my meetings, like with my team, walking through my neighborhood, getting some exercise, getting some of this beautiful vitamin D that we get in my part of the world sometimes. Now I pretty much sit down at 8 o'clock and don't get away from my desk aside from coming downstairs to grab some lunch until obviously no earlier than 5, but sometimes 5:30 or 6. So I'm staring at a computer screen pretty much all day, and that's not good for you. So like when I'm done, I'm not like, yes, let's close that laptop and open up the desktop and record, let's go stare at a screen some more. So unless something really strikes my fancy, I actually had started to do a save in South Korea because I don't know anything about South Korean football and that interests me, but I can't really get into it. So it might be until FM24 that there's anything on the channel, and then it will depend on how poor or great of a job SI does with making FM24. I thought, this is rambly. Welcome to the channel if you're new. This is rambly. I thought one of my issues might be that, Relegation Ranger is kind of a harder save. It's inherently, I think, I'm not trying to I'm amazing. I'm not trying to do that. But it's inherently more difficult because you are moving you're moving teams a lot, and every time you join, the dynamics are in the dirt. They're just garbage. So it's not like, I think one of my favorite saves I ever did was the Building a Nation in Ireland with Cavan Teely. Because you're building something, and you get these homegrown players versus like being the Relegation Ranger is hard. So maybe that was a mistake to do something like that being the only thing that I was doing. But when I look back on it, I don't think that would really change, because the other factors in my life with the not having enough time, it really comes down to time. And obviously if I'm investing a limited amount of time in something, I want it to be in a game that I find enjoyable, and I just haven't found FM23 to be enjoyable. So I have had anxiety about putting this video out. To be honest with you, I feel bad. There are people that have been supporting me on Patreon and that have dropped, obviously. There's still some of you, for some reason, that are still supporting me. I've thought about pivoting content. I've thought about doing some gardening content. But that's not exactly... Maybe I should have a separate channel called Gray Hair Gardening. I could still be GHG, maybe. Hello there. Birds talking to us. But that's where I've been, and that's what's been going on. So I don't really have a conclusion, I guess. I did say I was going to show you the garden. Transplanted some, we got a bunch of peppers and tomatoes, and I got another garden bed over here that we've got some, it's seeded for spinach and lettuce and onions, so we're excited about that. And what I've kind of learned about myself, kind of started learning, we started this gardening thing in the pandemic, is I've learned that spring in particular, because I can sit, the sun comes up over here on my house, and it, so right now I'm in the shade of my house in the mornings. There goes a chipmunk. Like, this is kind of like this is a healthy place for me. Like, it's like a zen, happy, it makes me ridiculously happy to see stuff that I started as a seed grow, and then it helps feed my family. So yeah, that's where we're at. I'm trying not to feel guilty about not putting out content. I'm trying not to feel guilty about people who support me on Patreon. If they all cancel, if you're a patron and you cancel, or a YouTube member and you cancel, no judgment, obviously. Why would I have a judgment? I'm not offended. I'm not worried. I'm worried that I'd never be able to build it back up. I think that's a natural fear. But I'm trying not to have guilt about that, because what I've been trying to do is spend time with my family and work. So, like, it's kind of like, well, why would I feel guilty about that? But, like, brains are stupid, right? So, anyway, why don't I give you a little tour of the garden action, and I hope to provide you an update at some point in the future, but I felt like I owed you a video. So, Yeah, let's go do that. So we got 2 little pots here with some oregano. I just transplanted this past weekend. It's not all that impressive, but those are dead lavender. This is some lettuce that we got in a little pot just because we wanted to have some stuff started. But this is the winner. This is a fake owl. Don't worry. That's Owly, the owl. This is a 4 foot. Let me see if I can change the exposure for you. Whoop, that's the wrong direction. 4 foot by 10 foot bed. These are some cucumbers here, right here in the front row, and then some tomatoes with some basil. So like, where's my finger? There it is. Basil, tomato, tomato, basil, tomato, tomato, and then the rest is probably, was that 1, 2, 3, 4, 12 different peppers. Bell peppers, sweet peppers, jalapenos of 2 varieties, stuff like that. And then that over there is our other bed. There's really nothing to show you there because that's where we've got it seeded for spinach and lettuce. So that's where we're at, my friends. I appreciate your support and understanding in advance, and we'll see you soon.